Yep.
Since arriving back to fully in-person school days, there's been a rising number of fights at my school. Now the cause varies, be it getting on each other's nerves, or maybe Tiffany over here stole someone's boyfriend again. Whatever it is, its frequency is rising because anytime a fight occurs, no one tries to stop it, but instead they pull out their phones to record it. The number one question whizzing around the school after the fight is, who's got the video? Not, I don't know, are they both okay? The student body at my school, as I'm sure it is at many other high schools in America, are prime examples of the digital bystander effect. The modern day version of the bystander effect, which is defined as the idea that when we're in the presence of a group, we feel less inclined to help others in dire need, as noted by a Psychology Today article from 2019. The digital age that we are currently in has added a completely new dimension to this, because now people's negligence is more obvious than ever. People are now intentionally hiding behind their phone screens so as not to get involved in the issue. So today, let's talk about some causes and effects of the digital bystander effect, and finally, some solutions to help ourselves out from behind our phone screens and invest in the well-being of others. So first, let's talk about the root of the bystander effect, and then talk about some of the ways that this digital age we're in has added a new dimension to this. Now, this phenomenon has been widely talked about long before the use of cell phones. In fact, according to a Simply Psychology article from 2020, it was first given the name Genevieve syndrome, following the murder of Kitty Genovese in 1964 when she was fatally attacked outside of her New York City apartment and her neighbors ignored her screams for help. This is sadly not the first or the last time that an incident like this has occurred. However, in today's world, people are now recording and even live streaming these incidents online, like the case of 16-year-old Kasim Morris, whose murder was posted to a video on Snapchat. The ignorance of seemingly urgent events like this can be traced back to the idea of diffusion of responsibility. Shireen Lehman, a psychiatrist and a writer for Very Well Mind magazine, defined this as the idea that when we're in the presence of a group, we feel less inclined to help others because we assume that someone else will do it for us. However, after all fingers are pointed, or in this case, videos are recorded, people are still more keen to the idea of staying behind their phone screens. This leads us to our next issue, which is that there is an additional layer to the lack of empathy in our society when you add a phone screen. Dr. Helen Reese, author of The Empathy Effect, noted that when we choose to spend our time communicating behind a phone screen, we miss important neurological keys that we normally get from communicating face-to-face with one another. The causes, in short, can be traced back to the idea that we're not admitting that what we're watching is wrong. The digital age has added a completely new dimension to this because there's now an extra physical and metaphorical layer between ourselves and taking a step in the direction of helping others. Now, the effects of this are simple. People get hurt and justice isn't served quickly enough. Additionally, the theory of optimal distinctiveness comes into play. Dr. Dara Greenwood of Vassar College explains that optimal distinctiveness is the feeling of inclusion that we get from having witnessed major and, in this case, horrific events. So it ends up becoming more important that we're one of the people who viewed the crime, as opposed to being the one who stopped it. This is a common cop-out from doing what's right, and it's so frequent in our society that another effect is that we're becoming desensitized to violence altogether. An American Psychological Association article from 2013 noted that we're becoming desensitized to violence in the real world because of how frequently we see it in the media. And that for some people, it's become a source of entertainment, and it doesn't result in the anxious arousal that one might assume you'd feel after seeing such imagery. Witnessing a woman being attacked or a teenage boy being stabbed in broad daylight are not and should not be considered just some daily event. They are horrific and tragic, and pulling out your phone so that you can be among the few to have video proof of it is not only insensitive to those who are close to the victim, but it shows that we're not sticking up for each other in our societies, and it's only going to encourage similar behavior to take place. A 2019 article by The Guardian noted that even if you're not directly filming the issue, sharing that video in any capacity is only adding to the problem. The effects of this are so incredibly dangerous because they're only going to continue to have a snowball effect on each other. If we continue to allow the casual viewing of such occurrences to happen in our society, then we're only tacking on to the end of this problem a sense of complacency to the whole thing. Now, the solutions to an issue like this seem like common sense. However, as the philosopher Voltaire once said, common sense is not common. The first step to being able to stop an issue like this should be to get off the video and call 911, but apparently that's proven difficult for most people. It really just takes a moment of empathy to be able to step into the situation and do something about it. One of the most dangerous things that we can do in a situation like this is to assume that something has already been done. In a 2019 article by The Medium about the dangers of assumptions, they state that they can cause us to act, or in this case, not act at all, as dangerously as a perpetrator. Once more, I say it, step into the situation as if you were defending yourself or a loved one. The common phrase is that if you see something, you should say something. This term is inspiration for social media to make that easier for users. Apps with video sharing capabilities now feature a report button, so that if you do see violence, you're able to do something about it. However, none of this means anything if we aren't holding each other accountable. As previously mentioned, sharing the video to your Instagram story with the caption, "This is horrifying," does nothing but add to the number of people who viewed the crime and did nothing about it. Instead, utilize that report button that's one click away and can save lives. The more that I research this topic, it baffles me how many simple solutions there are, but how little we've done to stop it. This problem can be boiled down to the fact that there's a lack of human connection in our society. And the only way to solve an issue like that is to feel motivation within ourselves to make that change. So today, we talked about some causes and effects of the digital bystander effect, and finally, some solutions to help ourselves and others in our community. As citizens of the same earth, we have a moral responsibility to stick up for one another and to keep our community safe. As our world becomes more digitalized, this has to start including our online communities. While social media has proven its capabilities in allowing for even more danger, it doesn't have to be that way. Social media can be the reason that the bad guys get put behind bars, but only if we're willing to do something about it. We have the capability to prevent what happened to Miss Genevieve or to young Kasim from ever happening again. But we have to be willing to free our hands and our minds from the shackles of staying on the safe side. We have to be there for one another. I urge you all to look beyond the ones and the zeros and be the one to say something.
All right. Good job, Abby.